Before giving up on a woman, read this. Because the problem might not be her or you. There's a subtle, almost invisible detail that separates men who earn respect from those who are forgotten. And if you don't understand this now, you might end up repeating the same mistakes with every other woman. Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to show you exactly how to turn the tables. Without chasing after anyone, you look at her messages, go over the old conversations, and something doesn't add up. She seemed interested, invested, and suddenly she goes cold. That kind of behavior is confusing, it hurts, and it makes you want to give up. But let me tell you something most women won't say out loud. Many times, that distance has nothing to do with you doing something wrong, and everything to do with her testing how much you value yourself. Yes, sometimes that's all it is. Most women won't say, "I'm just seeing how steady he stays." They just act. A delayed reply, a shift in tone, a bit of distance. All of that is like an emotional radar to see if you're reactive or confident. If you panic, she picks up on it. If you stay grounded, keep your life moving, she senses that you're different from the rest. And that changes everything. Here's a classic example. A guy is seeing a woman he met at work. Everything is going well until she starts taking longer to reply to messages. Most guys would start sending long texts, asking if she's okay, if they did something wrong. But the man who understands female nature takes a breath, focuses on his routine, and replies with calm and ease. That shows he's not driven by neediness, but by presence. Before you think about walking away, think about what might be happening beneath the surface. She could be going through personal issues. She might be testing you without even realizing it. Or she might just be waiting to see if you're the kind of man who can stand on his own. The secret isn't in reacting, it's in observing. And sometimes, just by holding your posture, you flip the script without saying a word. The way a man reacts when a woman starts to pull away says way more about him than he realizes. It's not the distance that defines what happens next, it's the response he chooses to give. An emotionally mature man doesn't panic or rush to seek validation. He observes, he reflects, he acts with composure. Because he knows that her emotional swings don't determine his worth. Reacting out of fear is acting on impulse. It's trying to fix something that isn't always broken. It's sending that long message explaining your feelings, trying to convince her to come back, begging for clarity. That doesn't earn respect. It earns pity. And pity has never been attractive. Masculinity is keeping your center even when the ground feels shaky. It's not letting her emotions throw off your internal balance. Now be honest with yourself. When a woman starts to pull away from you, what's your first reaction? Do you try to get closer right away? Do you get anxious? Or can you keep your composure without losing your lightness? Share it in the comments, because this simple self-awareness exercise can help you. And also other men who are going through the same situation. Don't underestimate the power of self-observation. Women can feel, even without words, when a man is whole. When he knows who he is, what he wants, and doesn't need her approval to stand firm. That doesn't mean he's cold. It means he's secure. And to a woman, security is like an emotional lighthouse. So before you act on impulse, ask yourself, am I reacting out of fear, or am I standing in my masculine energy? That answer changes everything. It's uncomfortable to look inward, I know. But often, what makes you want to give up on a woman isn't her behavior. It's the reflection she triggers in you, a reflection of your own insecurities, unresolved needs, or lack of purpose. When you get involved with a woman expecting her to fill an internal void, the connection stops being light and becomes emotional dependency. And that pushes her away. Think about it. Are you hoping she'll make you feel wanted, valuable, validated? If the answer is yes, then maybe what's really bothering you isn't her attitude, it's the expectation you've built. The truth is, no woman wants the role of savior. She might like you, but if she senses that she's responsible for holding up your self-esteem, she'll protect herself. That's not coldness. That's instinct. That's self-preservation. Picture a man who knows who he is, takes care of his health, invests in his goals, and lives a life with real meaning. When he's in a relationship, he adds, he doesn't drain. He doesn't need a woman to choose him to feel worthy. And guess what? That's magnetic. Now, if you realize you're looking to her for constant confirmation that you're enough, it's time to take a step back and strengthen your foundation. This isn't about blaming yourself. It's about taking responsibility. And that makes a huge difference. Blame paralyzes, responsibility empowers. So before you put a period on the story, ask yourself honestly, are you trying to win over the right woman, or are you hoping any woman will make you feel whole? That answer might not only save your self-esteem, it could prepare you for more mature and genuine connections in the future. When a woman thinks about you, what does she feel? Relief or longing? That's a question almost no one asks themselves, but they should. Your presence in her life leaves subtle marks, or none at all. And the most interesting part? It doesn't have much to do with how much time you spent together, but with the impact of your energy, your attitude, and how you carry yourself in interactions. The memory you leave defines the space she'll still give you. Men who know how to create a memorable emotional experience aren't necessarily the most handsome, rich, or funny. They're the ones who have presence, who can talk without trying to impress, who really listen, who aren't in a rush to please. For example, a regular guy who in the middle of a tough day sends a simple, direct, sincere message without being overly sweet. That stands out. That makes a difference because it shows stability, not neediness. On the other hand, if everything you offer is predictable, generic, or anxious, you become just another face in the crowd. She doesn't forget you because she wants to, but because there wasn't enough emotional intensity for the memory to stick. Absence only hurts when presence had value. So, ask yourself honestly, what are you planting in her memory? A real bond, or just another attempt to be noticed? The secret isn't being available all the time, it's being unforgettable when you are. The kind of man who, even in silence, still takes up space in her thoughts. If she's not remembering you, maybe it's time to change what you bring to the table. Not to please, but to sharpen your essence. Make it more unique, more real, because that's what truly lasts. The rest fades away. There's a very fine line between giving up on a woman out of weakness and stepping away out of self-respect. And most men get lost in that space. When you give up out of frustration, it's like saying, I can't handle this. But when you value yourself and choose to walk away because you know what you deserve, the energy is completely different. The first is an escape. The second, a conscious choice. And women can feel that difference, even without a word. It's not about proving something to her. It's about proving to yourself that you don't need to stay where you're not seen, where you're not a priority. If you feel like you're constantly giving, explaining, trying to hold on to something one-sided, stop, observe, and be honest with yourself. Neediness makes you insist. Self-esteem makes you reflect. And maturity allows you to walk away without drama, without resentment, without an audience. Let me give you a practical example. A man meets an amazing woman. Strong connection, deep conversations. But after a while, she starts showing up less, canceling plans, giving signs of disinterest. He has two options. He can ignore all of it and keep chasing, or he can recognize he's being neglected and, without bitterness, stop insisting. When he chooses the second, he shows self-respect. And that's often the moment she starts rethinking how she sees him. Valuing yourself doesn't mean closing off your heart. It means keeping your dignity above any attachment. And when you act like that, even if she doesn't come back, you walk away stronger, clearer, more aware of what you want and what you'll never accept again. Because in the end, it's not about losing a woman. It's about not losing yourself trying to keep her. The silence of a secure man speaks louder than 1,000 words spoken in insecurity. And here's a simple, brutal test. If you stop initiating conversation, stop sending messages, stop trying to maintain the connection. Does she notice? Does she miss you? Or does she just go on with her life as if nothing changed? That pause isn't a game. It's a thermometer. Because absence only has an impact when presence mattered. Real men don't disappear out of spite or vanish to manipulate. But sometimes, stepping back is necessary to see who truly notices your absence. Not with coldness, with maturity. A guy who has his priorities, his focus, his world, doesn't need to assert himself by forcing interaction. He goes quiet because he's living. And if she feels that as a loss, it's because there was value. If she doesn't, it's because she was just getting used to your availability. Picture a common situation. You're always starting conversations, making plans, carrying the interaction. Suddenly you stop. Not out of anger, but because you realized you were doing it all alone. If it takes her days to notice, the message is clear. But if the next day she reaches out, wondering where you are, showing genuine interest, then there's real potential. This is a silent but powerful filter. The point isn't to punish with silence, but to allow reality to reveal itself. When someone cares, they reach out. When they value you, they show it. If you go quiet and she doesn't lift a finger, maybe what you're trying to save ended a long time ago. And in that case, you're not the one losing, you're the one getting free. Knowing when to hold on is a virtue. So is knowing when to let go. A man who understands his own worth isn't obsessed with always winning. He seeks balance. Not everything that starts well will flourish. Not every intense connection means mutual feelings. The real power lies in being able to clearly see. Is it worth continuing, or is walking away the smarter move? And making that choice takes emotional courage, something rare and admirable. When you know when to stay, you show strength. When you know when to leave, you show wisdom. A man guided only by desire becomes blind. But a man guided by emotional awareness acts with precision. He can tell if he's being valued, if there's space to build, if there's mutual respect. And if there isn't, he doesn't make a scene, doesn't create drama, doesn't look for blame. He simply ends the cycle with the same dignity he started it with. Let me give you a straight example. A man starts dating a woman who seems promising. She's charismatic, intelligent, but inconsistent. One day she's into him, the next she disappears. He observes, gives her space, talks. But after weeks of one-sided effort, he decides to stop. Not because he's no longer interested, but because he realizes there's no point in building where there's no commitment. That choice isn't weakness, it's maturity, and that earns respect, even from her. Men who know when to walk away don't live off emotional crumbs. They know exactly what they bring to the table and expect the same level of presence in return. They don't waste energy trying to prove their worth. They look for relationships where value is natural and mutual. Because in the end, the most attractive thing about a man isn't how hard he chases someone, but how willing he is to walk alone when he realizes that's not where he belongs. If this content made you reflect, imagine what's still to come. So, go ahead and subscribe to the channel right now and hit the bell so you don't miss any tips that could transform the way you approach relationships. And hey, the next video is already on the screen. See you there!